Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow health fanatics. And if you're like me and my guest tonight, you're always looking for ways to improve your health, longevity, vitality, basically anything that just makes you feel good and look good. And we're learning more and more as obviously technology advances and we're able to do more research, get scientific results about how to improve our life, how to improve our health, and use science and technology to do so. And one of the things that I would say has been revolutionary in this and is recently starting to become more popular is red light therapy. Now, this is something that I've been using for years, and we can kind of get into how people are able to use it or access it. But here's the great news that we're eventually going to tell you about tonight. You can now have this in your own home. And it's kind of like if you go back in the day and when tanning beds were becoming popular, and then people were starting to put tanning beds in their own house. Well, this is where the red light technology is going. You don't have to go spend a bunch of money to get red light therapy. Now you can get it in your house. But we won't start you off with that. I want to introduce you to my guest, Jonathan Otto, not the drummer for Limp Bizkit, but probably as good looking and talented. He joins me tonight. And I want him to do a brief introduction of himself before we start talking about this and getting into the science and why I love it and why he loves it. He's an investigative journalist. And it's funny, we were kind of catching up before we went live here. We actually met before. We met at the Reawaken America event right here in Texas. And of course, at this time, Jonathan, people like us were at the forefront of this take control of your own health type of a revolution. Now, this stuff has been going on forever, right? Okay, people have been trying to find ways to take care of their own health for a long time. But when COVID happened and the medical tyranny and everything started to start cranking down, people like us were standing up and saying, hey, hold on a second. Don't live in fear. Take control of your own health. And here's what you can do to do it. Now, we may or may not end up connecting these two things before the end of this transmission. But I want you to introduce yourself. You're an investigative journalist. You were really, really at the forefront as far as standing in the way of the COVID tyranny. You and I both were going to events and speaking out publicly while all of this was going on, trying to stop people from living in fear. But now it's like, hey, the health revolution doesn't stop. You can still take control of your health, even though right now they're kind of leaving us alone with all the tyranny and injections and masks and distancing and everything else. That doesn't mean we give up taking control of our health. It's something that I'm very highly attentive to my health. And it's like, once you do it, you can't give it up. And that's kind of how I am with red light therapy too, but we can get to that. But before we do, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience and then eventually talk about why you're such a proponent of red light therapy.
Awesome, Owen. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you having me on, and you're awesome. And what you said is absolutely right. We need to get to the bottom of our own health and be in control. And people that often externalize things and love to kind of know what's going on often are out of control in their own lives, right? But we need to have both of those things. We need to know what's going on in the world and be part of the solution in the world, and we need to be in control of our own health, because you can't do anything without it. So my background, I am an investigative journalist. Like, this is a good example here. This is a book that I'm about to release called The Cancer Off Switch. And on the back here, this guy, he's Dr. Antonio Jimenez, arguably the world's greatest oncologist. Like, he's the guy that, whether you're Suzanne Summers or Olivia Newton-John, if you got cancer, you go to him, right? These are the most advanced clinics out of Cancun and Tijuana. He's based out of Texas, but they did that because they had to, for purposes of treating people. But this is what he said about my work, and it's because it's relevant. He's as the chief medical officer for the Hope for Cancer Treatment Centers, with over 30 years of experience in integrative oncology. I've seen the uptick in cancer. Jonathan, whom I've known as both a dear friend and esteemed colleague for nearly a decade, has become a beacon of hope in the face of this escalating crisis. His relentless pursuit of truth, from his early days in the Truth About Cancer movement to his current status as a formidable health advocate, is nothing short of inspirational. His groundbreaking research and unwavering dedication to those battling cancer and other chronic diseases make this book a potential lifesaver. Cancer Off Switch isn't just timely, it's a necessary and practical tool in our fight against these pervasive health challenges. For anyone touched by cancer or seeking to prevent it, this book isn't just recommended, it's essential. So we're not here to talk about that book, but that just gives you an idea of what people that are not not lay people, but experts, medical doctors, are saying about my research, about the work I'm doing. I've advised for him on specific cases, and I've educated and done trainings with his doctors out of both clinics. And I've done that for a lot of top clinics around the world and in America. And so I'm proud to be a part of the solution. It's interesting that an investigative journalist can interface in a clinical medical setting and help give solutions, because all these fields come together when we're all humble. We exchange notes, we help each other, and we get the best results. And the results speak for themselves. If you look at my view counts, we've got into the hundreds of millions of views, and I could show you all that. And under single videos, you can see 20 million views, 800,000 likes. And then you read the comments and you see actual conversations around people transforming, you know what, like anything from this to this to this. And I'm not going to make claims, but anything, that's my journey. I'm really good at helping people get better in and outside of red light therapy. Red light is a tool. It's not the only tool. So we'll talk about several things, but yeah, like sometimes you got to make it simple. What's the one thing I could do today to change my life forever? Red light definitely scores arguably the highest on that list. It's not the only tool, but it's going to be a fun conversation, Owen.
Well, and it's so amazing that you said the truth about cancer, because that's probably something a lot of people have heard of. That's something, especially people that kind of go on their own health journey, maybe not even necessarily a health journey, but a health research journey. That's one place where people end up, is the truth about cancer. And that can be a very awakening process to go through that. And so, what's so crazy about it too. And this is why we look for life hacks, right? This is why we look for solutions. And this is why you're so highly rated, because when you improve somebody's health and change their life in a positive way like that, it's one of the greatest things that you can do for somebody, that you literally improve their life. That what more can you do? That's as good as you can do for somebody, is improve their life. And so this is the stuff that works. But what's crazy is we have to find these life hacks. So much of these health life hacks, these biohacks and all this stuff, it's in response to our toxic environment. It's in response to the attacks that our bodies are under every day. The chemical attacks in the air and the water, in the food, people that don't get enough exercise. And so much of it is just countering that. And it's like, once you counter that, it's like, first you get the information, then you go through the process. And then once you counter it and you get over that hump, your health improves so much, your life improves so much, your quality of life improves so much. And for somebody like me, I mean, the red light therapy has worked for me to a point where it's like, you might even say I get addicted to it. That feeling after 20 minutes, in the red light therapy, it's like the sun. When there's no sun in the winter, I do the red light therapy every day. That's the only way I can get that feeling. And so there's no negative reviews. It's only positive.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's awesome. Look, I got a great comment here, because we're live, and I love this one. And by great, I mean somebody that's countering, and I love that, because someone said here, don't make claims when there's no substantial proof that RLT. So this person even knows some lingo. Red light therapy works. Okay, so he's saying that there's no substantial proof that red light therapy works. All right, so. Is that a good one to come in on, right? What do you think?
I love the fact that you're going into the comment section. You're bold. You're bold and brave for going into the comment section. Let's hear it.
That's awesome.
Prove the haters wrong.
Oh, exactly. Okay, so aside from
it naked, just by the way, I do it naked, just so everybody knows it's true. All right.
Oh yeah, dude. This is not how you do red light. This is how you visibly.
But for the sake of the internet video, we had to have clothes on. All right, so it's okay. We're glad.
Exactly. I'm breaking the rules. But if I didn't break the rules that way, I'd be breaking the rules another way. And, like Owen, we don't want to get canceled for those reasons, because of, exposing our bodies. Right. So anyway, okay. Aside from the fact that in 1903, the Nobel Prize was won for light therapy reversing disease by Niels Ryberg-Finsen, and it was for lupus vulgaris. Okay. So aside from the fact that we're 120 years into the clinical application of red light therapy, or in that case, that's light therapy. It was Dr. Andre Mester from 1967, once he coined and advanced specifically the red spectrum of light. And that his son is still advancing that work with the Photobiomodulation Society. Aside from that, we got close to now 10,000 studies. There's about 80 to 100 new studies that are coming out every month. Okay, so we're not talking about let's hope that maybe something comes out. And now we're talking about everything from superficial skin issues like psoriasis to skin bacteria to acne to all hair regrowth, wrinkles, fine lines, things that are cosmetic. Arguably, it's not like they're massive. Weight loss, it's called photonic lipolysis. It's how you can melt your fat cells, and it's used for body sculpting. Hence why clinics are charging like $3,000 for a 6-week program, which is really about $250 a session. But like, why are they doing that? Well, because it's actually giving the results that make people, it's worth them spending that money on that. Okay, so you got that. But what I'm obsessed about is how it's been clinically proven in studies against cancer, because that's the big killer. And for me, my mission, I didn't mention the humanitarian side. I did and do humanitarian work. And that long preceded all the work I do in health. I became an ambassador for World Vision at age 17. I started traveling through Africa, through Mozambique and Tanzania and Kenya. Saving lives is the thing I care about most. I don't really care that much about helping people get like wrinkles off their face, but like, cool, yeah, sure, this is a cool thing. So I'm going to show some of the studies that will validate these things, and then people should fact check and look into these things, and then start thinking about their loved ones and certain things that they have. Like I think about the fact that I wish I had known about this about 7 years ago when I started giving my dad stem cell injections into his knees. I didn't do it, but I paid for it. It's 30 grand. None of it worked for me. I'm not saying stem cells never work, but they most often haven't worked for me, because that's not the only case. But red light within about what cost about $300 took about 3 weeks to take both of his knees completely out of pain and show signs of regeneration. And yeah, so like there are definitely things that I wish that I knew then, but I'm really glad that it happened that way, because now I really know the value of it. But yeah, and there's studies on that. Like, that's anecdotal, right? That's a story. And I can tell you lots of weird stories. I can tell you weird stories about watching 90-year-olds regain their eyesight and be able to see out of the peripheral vision when they've had severe macular degeneration. I've seen those breakthrough studies that validate those claims. You look at UCL University, when they did a study to test eyesight, they tested myopia, and they would test 3 minutes with your eyes open, and then they would test the eyesight immediately, the same 24-hour period, and they found on average it was a 17% improvement in eyesight immediately within that first 24-hour period. But if they did it in the afternoon, there was no benefit. There was no change in eyesight. But if they did it in the morning, there was. So, these are good things to know about, right? So what do you want? What are you trying to do? Is it eyesight? Okay, well then maybe think about not wearing the goggles and looking into it. Make sure you don't have blue there. Make sure it's red, so if it's going into your eyes. So like lots of really cool things there. But I'll let you chime in, and I'll pull up some studies so I can actually show what I'm talking about, so people can see that I'm not making the studies up.
Well, it's funny you bring up the eyesight, because when I would sit in basically, the full, I'd be in the full panel deal, and I wouldn't wear the eye protection.
Nice.
And the other people would look at me like I'm nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of that kind of guy. I'm just the kind of guy that runs into the deal and doesn't really look back. So I was just like, I don't want the eye protection. Leave me alone with it. Like, okay, whatever. And then it just turned out I probably should have done this first. But it turned out afterwards, I was like, you know what? Maybe I will look into that and see if it's hurting my eyesight or not. And it turned out I looked into it. And like you were saying, I did look into it. And they said, actually, the studies show if there is any effect, that it can actually have a positive effect. So I felt less bad about not wearing the eye protection when people would give me a hard time about it. But, it's funny you bring up the cosmetic stuff. And hey, look, everybody wants to look good, and cosmetic stuff sells. So you see the stuff where they have the red light therapy on the hats. And that's great. If men can regrow their hair, we're cheering for you, men. All right. We all want to regrow our hair. So we've all seen that. You talked about some of the stuff to help remove wrinkles off of the face. But to me, and the reason why, and I see you have the full panels over there, the reason why I got obsessed with the full panels is because when you stand in it, and yes, I mean, you should stand in it nude when you're doing it. When you stand in it after, and it's like everything else, there's kind of a process, and maybe you want to start with 5 or 10 minutes. But eventually you get to the point where you're like 20 to 30 minutes and you just want to stand there, and it just feels good. I don't know what it is. You can feel it on your skin. It's not like, I kind of get high off the sun. I really enjoy the sun in the summer. I try to get as much as possible, but I can't in the winter. And so the only way I can get that feeling of the sun on my skin and like that radiant feeling that the sun gives me, the only thing that has ever been able to come anywhere near that, and maybe better to a certain degree, is the red light therapy. And it does kind of become, it kind of becomes an addictive thing. It's like, women get addicted to Botox and stuff that is probably not so good for them. but they get addicted to it because they feel better about it. They look better with it. I've had the exact same response since doing red light therapy, probably for like 2 years now.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, one of my friends, David Nino Rodriguez, probably some of your followers follow him. But
he's the boxer. He's into it.
Oh, dude, he loves it. He's been using our stuff for the last year, and it's changed his life. Dude, I'm going to give you, like somebody said TMI in the comments. All right, ready for TMI here. He's off Viagra. He said that publicly, so I can repeat it because of red light therapy. He was using it for performance, but he said, I don't need to. So guys are just saying, for performance, the red light was outperforming the Viagra. So anyway, whatever. I never taken Viagra, so I wouldn't know. But what else? He had a lot of things happen for him. Eyesight was improved dramatically. He had a lot of back pain because of being a boxer. That transformed his depression, anxiety. He's talked a lot about that. But he looks a lot younger. Anyone that, like, all you do is just, because I met him 12 months ago, right? So look at him about like 14 months ago and look at him now. Everyone knows. Anyone that does a comparison, he looks like a stunt double at this point. But anyway, so I'll show you guys the studies on this. So it's some of the real controversial ones are the fun ones. This one, this was just validating the one I mentioned about UCL University, where they did like the eyesight there. I'm just going straight to the site there. And so, yeah, so it was on average, it was a 17% improvement in eyesight. So I'm just going directly to UCL News there. And that was directly into the eye.
Oh, wow. I've never seen that.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's just like, because you got eyes and you got a heart, you got a brain, then it just makes so much more sense to get in front of a panel, because it's like,
right. It does
how do you keep up with all that? Right. You just do one side to the other side, you're done. And 15 minutes, you're done. Or you could do longer. Speaking about longer, check this one out, because we were whistleblowing on this. Like without going into too much detail on the specifics, so that I can keep things clean where we are right here, and taking into account that. This was the one I was trying to work out. How do I turn this around for people that need help because of things that happened over the last few years? This one blew my mind. This is the European Society of Medicine, and this is for the big, long COVID. And this was whole organ photobiomodulation. So it's overall their organs, hence why you think about a panel that could hit all your organs, head to groin areas, all your organs. And that's where the mitochondria are. So there were 62 people in the study, and it says here, full recovery occurred within 4 sessions for all photobiomodulation patients. All but 2 cases resolved.
I'm sorry, you got to say that to me again. Did you say 100%?
Yep.
Folks, you got to understand, when you start to look at this stuff, 100% is very rare. Okay.
Dude,
if you get 90 or above, that's considered success. 100% is like never. You almost never get 100% on anything.
Yep, exactly. I read through this so many times thinking there's no way I can be understanding correctly, but you're reading the words. And it will say exactly how many cases they were never able to solve, which, if that's 100%, that was out of the 62, but there was a bigger group here, and the total was out of 300 and let's see, it was back here. Total whole 350 cases. So, and out of the 350 cases, total unresolved cases totaled 0.25%. So that's crazy. But now look at what they were. Severe long COVID anxiety. That's like the fear of getting COVID. It's not a disease.
Anxiety, stop. This is crazy.
And then nosophobia,
like
the fear of getting diseases.
Themselves.
This is not a disease. Like, this is 100% success. Nosophobia is the fear of getting diseases. You can't fix that with red light. So, and then
that's why I talk about it has the same effect as the sun. Everybody, you hear about seasonal distress. You hear about seasonal distress. You hear about seasonal even stress, seasonal depression, right? It's from lack of the sun. It's because you're not getting that result. And the only thing, like I was saying, the only thing that can even come close to it is the red light therapy. I mean, you can get in a tanning booth, but it doesn't have the health benefits. It actually is probably negative health benefits they find out over time. This has positive health benefits. Yeah,
exactly. And Owen, I'll share with you something that you'll find really interesting, right? So you saw that study, and these were 4 64 to 84 minute long sessions, all within 1 week. So they're longer than normal because it's an acute infection, and then by the way, that is typically caused by the intervention that you either choose to or feel that you had to get, and that's typically how that condition is caused. It can be caught from somebody, but it can also, anyway. So why is it that they had, and the categories were specifically that they had total resolution of a dyspnea, which is shortness of breath. These are all oxygen related, which then has a direct correlation with dementia and with any cognitive decline or even mental issue. A lot of these have direct connections to oxygen and how you're intaking the oxygen. Anyway, so, but I'll explain something called irradiance and why that's really important and how it compares to the sun, because there's a reason why you would imagine that a lot of people get in the sun, but why is it that these studies, and I'll start showing you more and more, and you say, why is it that these studies are showing astronomical results? Like, for example, people open their eyes, people look at sunsets, but why is it that it's working in an accelerated fashion? It's actually working faster or quicker than the sun. But anyway, I'll come back to that in a second. But here they had total resolution of dyspnea, which is shortness of breath, then oxygen above 97%, saturation in the blood, digestive distress resolved, and this is total resolution, right? Elimination of brain fog, improved memory recall, restored executive function, and symptomatically managing emotional deficits. So why is it that they could actually have all these resolved when you get out into the sun? Why didn't that fix it? And the same thing is true with the thyroid studies. Like, most of us have our thyroids exposed and probably get about 30 minutes of sunlight because we're walking to the car, even though we didn't get full body. It's getting exposed, and that's all they did in the study. Why is the Hashimoto's thyroiditis study show that 96% went from an enlarged thyroid to a regular thyroid after a 3-week treatment? And I'll show you that study as well. Like,
and I'm gonna add this in too. They found out it was I don't know what decade it was, but they found out they had all these thyroid issues, and they started putting iodine in the salt, and so it was kind of this way of dealing with these thyroid issues. And then they found some other causes or precursors to thyroid issues. But the point is, from a general health standpoint, thyroid issues are very common, and this is a lot of just the environment, whether it's the stuff that you're drinking or the stuff that you're not getting as far as, vitamins and minerals. Thyroid issues became this big thing, and then they found out that, okay, well, we have these thyroid issues. Then they found out, the thyroid issue is then it's actually causing all of these other issues. It's like you have to address the thyroid before you can even address these other issues that people were having.
Dude, you know your stuff. And yes, absolutely. Like, even schizophrenia. So if you're having mental health issues, go for the thyroid and watch look, if you got somebody that you think is going crazy and you think it's like, oh yeah, they're a lost cause, think again, because these are toxin related, even parasitic infections. If you have the Toxoplasma gondii parasite, which is the most common parasite in America, at least 60 million Americans.
That's the cat parasite. Yeah, well, between drinking the fluoride and sleeping with your cats, you're gonna need to do something.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. If you have that parasite, you are 7.13 times more likely to attempt suicide than if you don't have it. Okay, so I'll say unaliving for this platform, but I'm just citing a medical study saying that is associated with irrational behavior and reckless behavior. It's the same parasite that causes mice to lose their fear of cats, which is kind of funny, but not really, because the parasite is trying to transfer into the cat, so it's making the mouse think that the cat's his friend and doesn't have fear of the cat. It's so strange what toxins can do to the mind. So don't write off your loved ones and your friends and yourself for the irrational thoughts and feelings. There's all these different triggers that are being caused by heavy metals, parasites, even venoms, which we validated. And because I kept seeing these cases of, why did these people that they didn't have these thoughts and feelings before, now they do. I can't keep going down this train, but the point was that we could get it out, and then people then all of a sudden got their lives back, and it was just a very beautiful thing. So anyway, to put a lid in this in the case, so you can measure irradiance. Like, if I measured irradiance here and I put an irradiance meter up to the sun, and the red spectrum is the most healing, even though UVB is really good for skin bacteria and things like that, but red and near infrared get right through the bone and interior tissues. And I'll show what that looks like on a chart as well. But that part of the light, you notice when the sun is going down and it's not very intense, which is why you could look at it. But the irradiance is quite low comparatively. So what you have is about up to 40 times the strength if you do the calculations between the two. So that's the reason, anywhere from 20 to 40 times the strength in like a high-powered device versus the sun. And that's the reason why the results are astronomical. And so I'm a huge fan of getting people out into the sun. I think it's the next best thing, and arguably better for certain things like full spectrum. You're just going to get that from the sun. And so I'm not replacing the sun. But in terms of rapid healing, like med bed level healing, I've never seen it like with people in the sun in my career, but I have seen it like almost every day of my life in this study and exploration.
Well, no, it's
and
like
on red light.
Yeah, well, what you're describing is you're basically taking, say, the best 30 minutes, let's say the best 30 minutes that you can get from the sun, and then not only the best 30 minutes that you can get from the sun, the best spectrum of light that is coming through that best 30 minutes, and now you're just concentrating it into a direct exposure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And you're super close to it. Like, so imagine if you're super close to the sun, well, that might be a problem, but in this case, you're super close to that source, and that's why you're really close. Somebody asked in the chat, what about incandescent bulbs? So incandescent bulbs are going to push about 90% of the power into heat and about 10% into light, whereas light emitting diodes, LEDs, if it's from a non-flicker source, which is high quality companies, and they're not going to have high flicker, and it's about 90% of the power goes into light and about 10% into heat. And then now you could be right up against it. And that's why, as I show you these studies, you'll find that they're all on LEDs or lasers, and they're profound. And wait till I show you the cancer remission cases, because they're the ones that people will find hard to believe, but it's real deal. We talked about thyroid, so there's a good one right there. This was showing that just on a 5-week session, 20 minutes twice a week, only 5 weeks, and then they're off it, and they get followed up 9 months after they started. So they've been off for almost 8 months. 47% don't need to take LT4 at all anymore. No more levothyroxine. And like, it keeps getting better, because this was chronic autoimmune thyroid hypothyroidism. Okay, so, and I'll show you more on that, because we got like lots of studies coming out of thyroid. There's definitely nothing better for thyroid. And then the combination of the things to put with it would be, you could add in selenium and vitamin D, okay, and D3. And so this one was an example, like the one I mentioned before, which was 96% of the women at a 12-month follow-up went from an enlarged thyroid with Hashimoto's to a regular thyroid, 96%. And that they did combine vitamin D. Sorry, I'm in the wrong thing. They did combine here vitamin D, and they combined, in this case, selenium. Right. So that was
just so people get a better understanding, because let's kind of trace all of this back.
Yeah.
Obviously, vitamin D, you can get that from the sun. We've sourced it now. You can get it from a supplement. Selenium, mustard seed. Mustard seed needs a lot of sun. But okay, we can source it from the mustard seed. We can get the selenium. So it's like, this is all this. It's like so much. We're talking about decades of research that's gone into this stuff. And really, you're just talking about the thyroid issue, but it's like decades of research has gone into this stuff to really pinpoint and hone in to the most effective ways to deal with these health issues.
Exactly, man. And dude, you know your stuff. That's awesome. So yeah, you can access these things, and they're within reach, whether you purchase a supplement or you get it from the sun.
Well, I talk news all day, but dude, I'm so into health. I'm so into health and fitness. It's,
dude, you look great.
I'm actually glad, because when we were talking about doing this, and it's funny, just so people know too, because we're having a conversation here about men's health, and I was like, hey, because you guys, you have a red light therapy company.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys want to sponsor the show? And I was like, hey, why don't we just come on here and talk about? I love talking about this stuff. I love talking about men's health. I love improving people's lives. And I also think it's important too for people to understand that it's just like, yeah, you see one side of me, and I talk about news and politics. We get hot and bothered sometimes, but it's just like, no, some other things are very important to me too. Health is very important to me. It's very important to it should be very important to everybody. It's like, okay, you want to be informed in how the world works. That's good. You also need to be informed on how to be healthy. You have to be informed on how to be healthy in the toxic world that we have.
Dude, you're so right, man. And anyone that knows Owen knows that he's just genuine and loves having conversations around health because it's what he lives, right? And so anyone that doesn't get that because you haven't caught that bug yet, catch that bug. It's the best bug to catch because you'll live the best life. And look, I'm like a mix of like lazy and astute because, you know, I look for the quickest way to do something. And I'm not lazy because I'm super ambitious. Like I can't sit there looking in the mirror, working, like throwing dumbbells for 5 hours a day. I've got a mission, right? You got a mission. So we're looking for things that like make it work. And I got 2 young children that I'm chasing around. I want to be my best for them. And so I do things because it gives me a better life. Guys, check this out. You're going to love this. All right, Owen, bro, you're like, I haven't even shown you what you're not even going to believe some of the things I'm about to show you. And then once you see this, you'll start thinking differently about a lot of things. This one was a really interesting one where it showed for the thyroid, like not only, okay, so like they used, for example, they used 820 nanometer light. That's near infrared. I'm going to show that on the spectrum because people don't understand. Most people wouldn't understand what that means. 200 milliwatts of power. That's not a common amount. That's very high. And so most devices don't do that. That's a good point. Twice weekly for 3 weeks. And then they had the result that I just mentioned, the 96% got reduction in their thyroid size to normal size thyroid, but they also had weight loss, reductions in body mass index, hip to waist circumference, and hip to waist ratio, thyroid stimulating hormone, etc. Now this next one,
now we're getting into looks maxing. Now we're getting into looks maxing. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, look, okay, because you think about the catch-22. People are cutting down their nutrients because they're starving themselves because they're upset about their weight, but it's a regulation issue caused by toxicity of the thyroid. So what's happening is the mitochondria in the thyroid are being stimulated by light to produce ATP, energy, adenosine triphosphate, and then this is now stored as a battery and used immediately to detoxify the thyroid from fluoride, bromine, halogens. And then it also then goes, that energy is now used to cause the thyroid cells to produce T4. And these are LT4. This is how it works. Like if you give any organ what it needs, then it goes and does what it's supposed to do, whether that's bones or organs, because they're the ones that are filled with mitochondria. They're the powerhouses. The cells give them light. They produce ATP. It's just basic fundamental science. It's how plants work. It's photosynthesis. I can't believe that we missed this in the equation. Like, and here's a great example of this. Like this one was Hashimoto's, and they used vitamin D, iron, and selenium. And then they did 2 groups, one that had red light with the supplements, and then one that had the supplements only. And then there's a lot of people listening that are doing supplements because we kind of caught that bug a decade or 2 ago. Now, this group that had red light, they performed 70 times better at achieving thyroid hormone balance or improving, and 15 times better at reducing medication needs. So these ones are like giving you clues into arguably whatever you're doing, like let's say it's a parasite cleanse because you're going after that issue because of the cancer risk or mood disorder that's connected to that or autoimmune condition, then you're amplifying what you're doing. And that's actually a certain type of photodynamic therapy that you do when you amplify an anti-parasitic agent. That will explain the wavelengths, right? Because people, like, let's imagine you had an issue that was in the bones, or let's imagine you had something that's on the skin. Well, you're going to miss what's on the skin if you go for near infrared because it's getting down here to the interior tissues and bone and muscle and subcutaneous tissue. But if you're going for the skin, you're clearing bacteria, then it would be blue light. But it's like the rainbow or the sun during the day. If it doesn't flicker, there's no problem. And so there are myths around blue light. That's why it's used for jaundiced babies. Tim Pool and I talked about that last week, and that's what helped his baby. And he was like, open his mind to light therapy after that happened to him.
Did you give Tim a red light hat?
Yeah, dude, he was so excited about it.
I had to ask. I'm sorry, I had to ask.
No, I'm glad you did. He was like really excited. Like he kind of.
You gotta get him a custom made beanie. If you get him a custom made beanie, then he can do it while he's on the show.
Dude, yeah, no, he's excited. I actually gave him a hat. He's really excited about that, and then a mat, a PEMF mat, and a red light panel, and yeah, he was super excited about it. I think I've actually got a picture of it here. Let's see. It's maybe there. It is. Yeah, that was last week in the studio.
You gotta get him a. You gotta get him the red light beanie. You call it the Tim Pool version.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. We should. That'd be fun. So yeah, that was That was fun. So here you've got these are the different wavelengths. And so now here's what's interesting. So then if you've got some other stuff that's going on in these layers, the dermis, subcutaneous tissue, muscle, bone, interior tissues, it matters where you're aiming that target, and that's going to make the difference right there. So you look here.
Hold on. Will you go back to that slide for a second?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just want to clarify. So these are the different, is this measuring the power of the light versus?
No, the wavelength is the distance between the highest and the lowest point of the light, which then dictates the color. So like, let's say, for example, if you're the deepest side of the deepest part there where you see something that's like red and yellow, that yellow is 590. So it's going to dictate the color. So whenever you see colors, you're actually determining, you can see wavelengths because you know, okay, that's blue, so it's going to be in the 400 spectrum. Oh, that's red, it's going to be in the 600 spectrum. And then anything that goes into the 800s, even though it's called near infrared, you can't see it anymore. It's invisible.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll ask the question about, I'm assuming there's settings on the units where you can kind of determine where that is at. Okay, but what you're saying is the graph is representing, depending on what it is you're looking for, if you're looking for something more on the surface, that's up at the epidermis. If you're looking at something that's going to get to the bone and the muscles, then that's going to be a totally different light spectrum as well.
It's going to be those 800s near infrared. And then like to make it easy, like what we did is that it's just got everything on at once. And because like the sun is everything, right? It's full spectrum light. So clearly in nature, there's full spectrum light. But the problem is with a halogen bulb or an incandescent bulb, it's full spectrum. It's more full spectrum, but its intensity is probably sitting around like, and this is measured independently on meters, around 2%. Or so it's like 50 times greater the strength if you're using a concentrated light that's pushing more of the power into that wavelength. So then you're best off in that setting to use the most proven wavelengths for various conditions and then have them so they could hit every area of your body. And they have a dual effect. Like it's about going after diseases that you may have or symptoms that you have. But the other side is you're aiding the organs at different levels. Like if you just look at your eye, I could show you all the wavelengths that are proven. Like, so now watch this. This is where it gets really interesting. So these are clinical studies on those wavelengths in various conditions. By the way, the mechanism is largely to do with stem cells. Okay, so what it's doing is it's stimulating the body to produce stem cells, proliferate, which is to create them, and to differentiate, which is to mature them into like a stem cell turning into an eye cell or a bone cell. Like light therapy is proven to do that. As the clinical study there showing that they will both proliferate and differentiate mesenchymal stem cells in the body. And that's why it worked for my dad. One of the reasons why it worked for my dad. And if I just put stem cells in, those stem cells are still they're still relying on the mitochondria within the stem cells. So no wonder they didn't go anywhere or do anything because they. Well,
it's kind of like, isn't it kind of like taking a shot? It's like taking a shot. You're not sure if it's going to go in or not.
Yeah.
You know? So you just kind of take as many shots as possible, hoping one of them goes in. And you're saying this is making sure you're going to hit the shot.
Yeah, exactly. If you're aimed at the right section of the body and you need help in that area, like let's say with cancer, it's actually what you'll start to understand is that these are cells that haven't formed properly. They're malformed cells and they're surviving in low voltage environments and they can't make a transition into a normal cell. And that's why they're called cancer. But cancer and then that's why they're called cancer stem cells, which people don't know those two words go together, or those three words. And cancer stem cells dictate the whole journey of tumor cells. It's all based on cancer stem cells, and do the research. You'll see what I'm saying is 100% true. And now cancer stem cells can actually differentiate back actually into normal healthy cells, or they can be given energy and they can then graduate and have the ability to undergo apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. That's an advanced quality for a cell that a cancer stem cell doesn't have. It can't actually even activate that. It needs the energy to even transition to die. And that's why basically what you do with red light is you're clearing out, you're like mowing down your diseased cells called senescent cells and your diseased mitochondria, which is called mitophagy, and you're shutting those down and then you're spawning new ones. And so you're actually giving birth to like new life in your body. And once you correct that process in the body, that's why these results are so shocking in each of these categories. And I'm going to show you clinical studies on each of these conditions that are published in mainstream sources, PubMed, NIH website, Lancet Oncology, and look at the wavelengths that are working for the conditions. Now you saw that graph. See how the 800s, that's what's working for prostate. Whereas breast, it's coming down into the 660s and 670. And then lung, that'll go in the near infrared as well. So, and then most of these are using something called photodynamic therapy. Now methylene blue is getting known. Methylene blue, I would argue, should never be taken outside of using red light because it needs to be activated actually at 660 nanometer light. Look it up. It's true. And at very least,
is that why when you're taking it, you basically just pee it right back out?
Well, that will happen anyway, but the issue is that you didn't activate something called, you didn't use it the way it's supposed to. It's a photosensitizer. And when it absorbs into the cells, it hypersensitizes your cells to light. So now when light penetrates, it's going to cause the cells to react in a stronger way. And so it's going to produce more ATP and the mitochondrial activity will accelerate. But most importantly, it will generate more reactive oxygen species like singlet oxygen. And that is like singlet oxygen has been used in the military to shoot missiles that are airborne. And your body just produces it, especially under photodynamic therapy. And it will go and clear out all the bad cells. And so that's why it's used in all these big cancer studies, man. It's, I'll show you. Look at this. This is a good example. You got to see it with your own eyes. Okay, this is a before and after on cutaneous B-cell lymphoma, which can be terminal. This is on PubMed. Anyone that reads PubMed knows the format. Look at this. So photodynamic therapy as an effective treatment for cutaneous lymphomas. And like, look at under figure 1, it says a complete response in a patient with a certain type of cutaneous B-cell lymphoma with MAL-PDT, which is photodynamic therapy with a photosensitizer. That's methyl aminoleuvolinic acid. But a complete response means it's a complete recovery, meaning that he achieved remission. And it was actually only after 2 sessions. And there was 3 people in this pilot study, and all of them had the same result. It was in 2006. They all had a complete remission within 1 week after 2 sessions. It's insane. And these were the images that came out. And it's not the only ones. And I'll start showing you more and more of this information. Photodynamic therapy is one of the biggest answers to the big C diagnosis, and it's a travesty. Even the Cutaneous Lymphoma Foundation is reporting a 60 to 90% effectiveness rate, and this is phototherapy under photodynamic. This one in breast cancer, this was a 40% reduction in cell viability after a 24-hour exposure time point. Now, this was not in humans. It was human cell lines, but in Petri dishes, which is in vitro. But they tested 4 different wavelengths. These were the ones. And it was only 660 that could drop the proliferation, the growth by 40% in 24 hours. And it was light emitting diode, LED. Like this is really important. And I've seen amazing results with people using this. That one was for lung cancer, which is the biggest killer. It kills more people than breast cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer combined. Lung cancer.
And
even though smoking rates are going down.
It might have the highest fatality rate.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, yeah. Because it's unresectable, because you can't perform surgery on it. You can't do anything with it. And look, PDT, photodynamic therapy, which again, remember methylene blue, which would be 30 minutes before a milliliter, or if you were dealing with something like this, doctors that I connect with and work with, they're talking about 3 to 5 milliliters, like Dr. Daniel Newsom, 3 to 5 milliliters. You'd take it 30 to 60 minutes before you go into the red light. Then you do the red light for that 30 minutes, 60 minutes, because you're going after something heavy, and you keep doing this over and over to perform this. And if you use ChatGPT or Grok and you say, show me all the photosensitizers for cancer, show me what's the best, and it will tell you that methylene blue scores the best, which is awesome, because some of these other ones are like $1,000 for like one treatment, whereas methylene blue is like $30 a bottle. So it's just, I like telling people that there's ways to do this. But look, unresectable lung cancer, PDT, photodynamic therapy, is an alternative, and I like that, for palliative chemotherapy and radiotherapy. In unresectable lung cancer, it achieved an overall response of nearly 87% and improved patient quality of life. It's a promising anti-tumor strategy. Bro, this stuff is awesome. The last one I'll show you on the cancer, this one was prostate cancer, which the traditional therapies leave 9 out of 10 men impotent for good, typically. And this was 413 men. It was a 2-year study published in Lancet Oncology. The group that didn't take red light, only 13.5% went into remission, okay? 49% went into remission in the vascular targeted photodynamic therapy group, red light therapy group. Okay. That's a big difference. That's 360% increase. So it's, have I answered the first guy that challenged me that there's no substantiated proof?
Well, I'm guessing he didn't have all of this research.
No, I don't want to mock him. I just, he said RLT. I was impressed. He knew the abbreviation. I liked it.
Well, and you bring up, obviously methylene blue has kind of become, a bit of a fad, maybe. I don't know if that's fair to call it a fad, but it's it's gotten a lot more popular in recent years. And I think it's important because a lot of people don't understand how a lot of times you have to think about synergy, right? You have to think about how things work synergistically together.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that right combo, you're not going to get the most out of, you're not going to get the results or the most out of the results that you're looking for. I'm glad that you brought those things up because I had the different cancers on here and you covered them all. But isn't it amazing? And this gets back to the truth about cancer. When you guys, when you and everybody else that was involved in that movement and the truth about cancer, I think one of the most eye-opening things about it to me, and slowly but surely, people are realizing a lot of the corruption that we have in our world today. But when you look at the truth about cancer, it's incredible. A lot of people have different ideas or theories or homeopathic treatments for cancer, but they always want you to do the same thing. When you go into the medical institutions, they all want you to do the same thing. And eventually that's chemotherapy. And you realize that, okay, make your decisions on how you want to handle your own health. But you realize that the reason the industry pushes that is because it's the most profitable. It's not because it's the most successful. It's not because it's even the most healthy. It's because it's the most profitable.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Like you, what is it? Like 300,000 to 1.3 million is the typical cost of a cancer patient, like what they pay. But you say, oh, well, my grandma didn't have to pay that, but that 10% can still leave people bankrupt, right? So that 30 grand or that 150 grand could wipe people out still. And yeah, it's super profitable for the big machine that's being created. People become a lifelong customer, and
like they could be paying for you to get a red light therapy wall if you want to do that instead of chemotherapy.
Dude, and like the one that I like talk about in the book there, and like other series, like Healing Revolution is a series I just released. We went into detail in that. It's healingrevolutionseries.com. It's a free 12-part documentary, free screening of it. You could go to healingrevolutionseries.com. I can't, and by the way, I would say exactly what it is here, but there's certain platforms that these words, you can't say them. And anyone that watched me on Tim Pool recently, I said the abbreviation. I gave names and then I said there were letters. And so this is what it is. It would be Mary, Martha, Sam. Okay, so they're letters. So just use the letters, not the names. Put that in and look into that. And the same thing. So it's Mary, Martha, Sam. Or it's also referred as Charlie, Derek, Sam. Their letters. Look those up, not the names. Don't get distracted by the names. I'm just trying to give you the letters because I can't do it any other way. Look those up. Okay, now I'll tell you why this is important. When Mel Gibson, all fiery-eyed, is on Rogan saying, I got a good story. Yeah. What is it? Okay. Yeah, I had a lot. He had 3 friends. They had stage 4 cancer. They had a lot of things going on. He's like super wild-eyed. And he said, what did they do? And he says, yeah, they want some serious stuff. And then Rogan says they take ivermectin, and then Mel Gibson says, yeah. And he said fenbendazole. He says, yeah. And then methylene blue. And then he goes, and they're drinking this methylene blue, and they're drinking this hydroxine something. Okay, so hydroxine something, that's not a word. Okay, that doesn't exist. There is no hydroxine something. What he was talking about was the thing that I just mentioned. So if you look that up,
wait a second. Let me understand. You can't say HCl?
No. Okay. Well, I could probably say sodium, and I could probably say chloride, but what they produce when activated by hydrochloric acid, I cannot say that.
Well, okay. I'm gonna follow your lead here, and I'll just say for people that are confused, just remember what it was they were trying to keep you from getting access to during COVID. And it falls into that category of the thing they were trying to stop access to, which worked, by the way. It was proven to work. Hey, let me do this because I'm getting a lot of look, we're men here, okay? We're selfish. We're thinking about our fellow men and the things we do. The women are feeling left out of this conversation. Because I wanted to go next and talk about testosterone, because the truth is, and I'm sure you may know who Raw Egg Nationalist is. I'm sure you've seen his work somewhere before.
Probably, but it's not on the top of my head.
He
But
was the one that introduced me to red light therapy, and he was part of that Tucker Carlson special when they were talking about red light therapy, and it was kind of like a, it was kind of like a joke. It was like kind of like a troll, but there was something serious to it, and they had these images of these men, and they had like maybe like a 12 by 12 red light panel, and they'd be standing there, and it would just be on their genitals, and they'd be standing there, and the red light thing would be hitting their genitals. And it was kind of like a joke, like, oh my gosh, why are men doing this to their genitals? This is goofy. But of course, there's a science behind it. So anyway, that was my introduction, was looking into that, looking at testosterone, looking at the positive results. But obviously that's from a male perspective. You did point out the breast cancer. You point out the hip to waist ratio, and some of the other looks maxing stuff that is going on right now. What about any other stuff for women thinking about this?
yeah.
What other benefits for women? Because there are women that listen here, believe it or
Oh,
not.
dude. Yeah, that's great. No, that's awesome. No, the women are awesome. And I love that. And just so, and putting a loop in the methylene blue, just quickly, photosensitizers, curcumin is one, berberine is one. I actually don't take methylene blue a ton, but I would if I had the big C. And I would take it in
and with curcumin. Can you just get that with like a real pure turmeric too?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you're using red light, it's activating it. And what's happening when people are taking these supplements, they're not actually getting activated. That's the crazy part about this. And so curcumin has like a huge issue with not actually being bioavailable. And so PDT, like lighting it up with light, will actually make it work. Typically you take it, then 2 to 3 hours after, that's when you do the red light. But if you're generally taking it as a supplement, or eating these things in your diet, and you kind of have some raw foods here and there, you will be able to like just have it in your body, and these therapies will be more effective. But look, berberine is also one. This is like we've got like all kinds of charts we put together with this type of stuff. But and then like that was the one where out of 10 studies, 7 showed clear tumor reduction, sometimes almost up to 99 to 100% shrinkage in colorectal cancer, melanoma, cert carcinomas. That's why I can't not talk about it, even though like it's a dye, so I kind of hate it. But I
know it's one of those things where it's just, you just gotta you present the science, you present the facts,
exactly,
you make your own decision.
Exactly. But it's so effective for these types of things. So therefore it's like, great, like get into it. These things become necessary. We've all got loved ones that are suffering. So to answer the thing, okay. So with women, Hashimoto's, all the thyroid issues, big hitters, because for every one man that is facing a thyroid condition, 10 women are fighting it. And so that's a big one for women. Lupus is more common in women as well. And it's extremely effective for lupus. And then all the studies around fine line wrinkles is that they're big. Fibromyalgia, more common in women as well. And you can which were the ones that you, yes, definitely. I like some of these studies.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, like some of these studies are only done on women.
A couple of friends. I had a lady that I worked for. This was probably like 10, 15 years ago. And she couldn't do anything. And her fibromyalgia was like tormenting her. And there was literally nothing for her out there that could find help. I've never heard of this.
Oh yeah. No, that's so sad, man. Like fibromyalgia is like, okay, so let's look at it. Right. This was a 2024 study, whole body photobiomodulation. So notice that it's not a single localized, it's over all their organs. Help people with fibromyalgia, condition that causes chronic pain, fatigue, chronic pain and chronic fatigue and emotional distress. It was only a 4-week period. So just imagine what it would look like over 3 months, 6 months, etc. Participants who received red light treatment experienced less pain, improved quality of life, and better ability to enjoy leisure activities. They became less afraid of movement, felt more confident in managing their condition, and worried less about their pain over time. And look how long it lasted. Only 4 weeks, but it lasted up to 6 months. So it's actually structurally changing things. It's actually causing the organs and the cells and the inflammation. This stuff is, inflammation is actually how the body's trying to heal. So, but it's dealing with the swelling, the inflammation, these issues, but it's then getting to the root of what's causing that, which is toxins, because cells can detoxify themselves when they have the energy to do so. That's why these mechanisms are working across the board, whether you got this label or that label or this label or that label. And so, yeah, that, I mean, these are purely based on studies. I've only taken the words from the studies. There's no artistic license included here. And that's why every time I'll show the slide after it, there's so many words here, people get lost in it. So I'm trying to make it easier for folks. But yeah, you see it all there, the 4 weeks. Yeah, big deal. And same thing as that was with pancreatic cancer. But if you know it could work in these cases, then you'll be happy with that. Lupus is very common in women. It's managing the condition, and it's working because it's working through the mitochondria, boosting cellular energy, and then it's modulating key inflammatory pathways. This is the mechanism, generally speaking. And then also it's working for asthma, IBD, irritable bowel disorder, improving wound recovery. What have I seen? I saw a woman, Shannon. She had a Graves' disease, so there's back to thyroid there, but she could hardly walk. She had really bad markers for her blood. The doctor said, give up your athletic dreams. She had the New York Marathon coming up. And look, this one's like out in the ordinary story. So I'm not saying this happens for everyone, but she ended up just getting in front of it. She got in front of our red light panel. She was close to it, got it over all her organs. She ended up going and competing in the New York Marathon 2.5 weeks later. And we keep tracking all these like really weird stories, even though, you know, some people's bodies are quicker. Some take more time. Like this 92-year-old, she'd lost the ability to see. So she could see, but she really severe myopia, vision loss, and she had no peripheral vision anymore. So, and bad macular degeneration. So within the first day, she was able to read a television. She had some mild dementia, so she was confused. She thought someone had replaced the television, and it was like a really one that somehow she could read, but it was actually just her eyes. She regained her peripheral vision. Her nerve pain in her feet went away. So she ended up getting a life back. A 92-year-old Joanne. Like these people send me videos. It's really inspiring. I watch them for fun.
Well, anytime that you can improve somebody's health, it makes you feel good. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I saw this, and if the answer to this is no, then just say no. You don't need to get long-winded. But I wasn't even thinking about, let's say weight loss issues. And I'm not saying standing in front of one of these things is obviously going to make you lose weight.
It does.
So you're just going to outright say that. So I had a lady come up to me. This is a friend of mine. She's we're both the same age. We're 36, and she comes up to me at the gym. Gym friend of mine, and I'm in there, and I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. I got it all going on. And she was just asking me, and she's in pretty good shape too. But she was just asking me. She was like, "Do you know anything to do with stubborn lower belly fat?" Because we were kind of making a joke. We were seeing who had a bigger butt. And I was like, okay. And so we were joking, and I was like, oh no, you're looking good. And she was like, yeah, well, she's trying to do something about her lower belly fat. Do you have there been any studies on that stubborn lower belly fat that's so hard to get rid of?
Like, you have no idea. Like the clinics because we do red light beds for clinics, right? So like the Hope for Cancer Center, this place that I mentioned before, they're using our devices now for their patient follow-up program. So they really love like getting the highest quality stuff. And, but the cool thing about that is that normally that's kind of like really inaccessible for most people, but it's really affordable. And that's what we did with the company, right? So like they use it for photodynamic therapy, like I was showing you, but most of the clinics are using it for weight loss. And they are using it and then people are coming in and paying $3,000 for a 6-week transformation purely based on weight loss. And they're doing 15 minutes twice a week, and they're happy with the body sculpting, the weight loss results. So then they're stoked about that. So yes, and I'll show you the studies. Like a lot of the clinics are reporting 1 to 3 inches for the people that are quite overweight. Typically the 1 to 3 inches in the first sitting, which is really weird to lose that much in such short time, but because it's dealing with the swelling, it's edema, it's different to what people think it is. This goes into think about glyphosate, right? What's that doing to people's guts, and what is it? It's a combination of synthetic animal venoms. That's as much as I'll say on this platform, but they have the patents for it. So what does that do? It's a toxic reaction that's creating swelling. And then what you're doing is you're interfacing with that. By the way, red light is proven to work to aid people in fighting envenomation. I've seen this I saw it on different therapies when I was out in Africa last year, where we were trying to find ways to solve these acute infections, and I could do it with other things as well, like nicotine works, and the other thing I talked about, the Mary Martha Sam thing, and other things, that bush medicine and folk medicine, how you get your antibodies in your urine. I'm not going to go there, but I saw people's lives get saved on, like, from toxic envenomation, which is relevant because of Ozempic and had the Gila monster venom, and why that is causing, like, because you have to think of what's causing the blindness, what's causing the gut paralysis in people, and the thousands of lawsuits against Novo Nordisk for Ozempic. It's to do with this toxicity issue, and they're offsetting it with red light therapy in the clinical studies in toxic envenomation. So when you offset that, you actually, and the weight that people are experiencing is a slew of toxins in their body that they can't get rid of, and it's modulated by thyroid function and other things. So yeah, you correct that, and people lose super rapid weight, and it's really weird seeing it.
I imagine, and I used to work in the sports media, and I would kind of rub elbows a little bit with professional athletes, and I'd try to find just different stuff that they would do. And some of them like to keep their routine secret. Others will go public. I'm actually surprised, because we hear about, like, I think it's like the hyperbaric chambers. They do like the freezing therapy, right? Or the ice baths have been going on for a long time. I'm surprised we don't hear more athletes talking about red light therapy. I'm guessing within a couple years, it's going to become a major thing with professional athletes doing red light therapy. It hasn't caught on quite yet, but my guess is it's going to be big with pro athletes very soon, if it's not already, and they're just not talking about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, a lot of athletes are doing it for sure. Like, I don't know whether I could say most athletes do it, or whether most athletes in the know do it, or what. Like, I got my friends like Tim Tebow that he's using my stuff, but he's not competing now. But
I know the league needs quarterbacks. All right, they're looking for quarterbacks. We got Grandpa Rivers out on the football field this weekend. Okay, so maybe it's time for Tim to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. No, he's too busy fighting human trafficking. We're doing a lot of that work together. He's like, I'm happy to be supporting him in that, and we're all through, like, with technology, we got some different projects, and anyway, like, but yeah, so I know that people like him and different friends and colleagues are doing it, and there's a lot of athletes that are doing it, and it's really profound for helping in that way. So this one, because we were looking at that, like, so this is for example what Grok told me, which people should just mess with AI on this and kind of quiz it out. It's kind of interesting. And this one was, yeah, so investigated for fat reduction, body contouring. Okay. Wow. Circumference, sustained weight loss effects, highest quality. Okay. Lasers, 24 studies, significant reductions. So this one was significant reductions in waist and hip circumference, insulin levels. So that's big. Conclusion, okay, improving body fat distribution. So that was that study. That was interesting. You can read every word in this. I'm just kind of going for, like, key findings there. Mechanisms include temporary pause in fat cells for triglyceride leakage. So it's like kind of like breaking open the fat cells. It's called photonic lipolysis is the name for it. This one's a double blind. This was 2.15 centimeters cumulative waist girth loss versus placebo. So it definitely is making a difference in that. Anyway, wow. So yeah,
I mean, dude, of all the different crazy things people will try to do to lose weight, how is this not a bigger story? You just have to stand in front of one of these panels. Why aren't people talking about this? They're literally injecting themselves with anything they can. And it's just like, I can't believe it. It's not, I guess we're just ahead of the time, really. I think that's what it is. I think we're just a little ahead of the curve here.
Exactly. I know these are good for people to kind of just work out what it is that will make our lives better. And I've got a young family, and what does my future look like for our children? When you and I approach heavy subjects, there's been question marks within the communities that you and I have been in around the future of humanity when it comes to fertility. Right. So what do you think red light does when you put it on the reproductive organs? And these studies actually even go down to a single minute over the testicles, measuring sperm motility.
Well, this is exactly where I was going to go next. So I'm glad
Nice.
you did. Why is it that men will put that red light panel right in front of their manhood? Why do they stand there with it right there?
Dude, it's so smart. Like the studies on sperm motility go down to a single minute, like a minute of red light over the testicles. The Birmingham University did studies on this as well, where they put 1 minute, 5 days on, and they, unfortunately, for animal lovers in the house, severed the spines of the rats, and then they put the 1 minute. And so now I'm talking about time for a second, but just that 1 minute of exposure showed that it was over 5 days, proved that it was regenerative of the spine and neuroprotective of the brain, and that it was increased cell viability by 45%. So anyway, the other studies that were showing, like on the testicles, like where it's little as like a minute, but it could be a lot longer, because I mean, I'm here like half an hour, like lots of people are, and you got your testicles and everything. So increasing testosterone levels. And if you improve your sexual health, whether you're a male or a female, you're basically improving every area of your health. What's really interesting is that you're like erectile dysfunction is largely to do with a nitric oxide issue, and you're like red light is a nitric oxide machine. It's what causes your body to produce nitric oxide.
And that's why they tell you, and you know, I won't get into the different pills that they suggest, but really, if you're looking for something more natural, it's like you look for dark fruits, you look for beets, you look for pomegranate juice. This is the stuff that has the naturally occurring the NO. I like to do it before I go to the gym. It's how you get that pump. It's how you get that vascular expansion. Well, what do you think, what do you think goes on down there?
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted in the comments.
You got to be careful. I warned you about that. I told you, you got to be careful going into those comments, man.
You did. You got me in the rabbit hole. I'm like, who is Winkle? Is this Winkle? And it screwed me up. Okay, so give me that again, bro. But because we went there, like I told you, I won't read that out. It's a funny one.
Comments? Are you going into the comments?
No, I'm coming out. out.
Okay, good. All right, good. I was just talking about natural ways to increase blood flow.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But here's what I will say, because you brought up, there's a couple things that are connecting all of this to me.
Yeah.
And first of all, there's all kinds of studies, and you kind of were referencing this in a different way, but there's all kinds of studies. There was actually a big study that just came out like last year, and everybody was making a joke like, oh my gosh, we need to have more sex, but humans are having less sex than ever, probably because of what's online. But it came out that, let's call it a healthy sex life. But it turns out studies show that the more sex you're having, it can show you live a longer life. But I think I don't think it's the act of sex. I mean, sure, there's probably benefits from the actual act itself, but I think it's more of the things that result in that act. It's like the different things that allow you to have that healthy sex life and be able to do it. I think that's what's really, and then it's like, oh, the sex is just kind of the result of these things, but that's actually extending the life. And you talk about the immediate response when it comes to sperm. And this is what I was going to get at. And you got into testosterone. What I figured out was what I liked to do is I would stand in front of the red light panels for 20 minutes, full body nude. And I'd stand in front of it for 20 minutes, especially if I knew I was about to go have a workout or if I was about to go play basketball. I like to play basketball. And it was like a cheat code for me. It was like a cheat. I was like obsessed. I could tell it gave me that extra edge. I didn't turn into the Hulk, but I definitely could tell it gave me that extra edge. Something was stirring. And so it makes sense. It makes sense that you would have that result, in the sperm as well, in your testicles, because it's just the same thing. It's like you can feel the effect of it. So obviously, I think it's, at the sperm, at the micro level, it happens at the larger level too. You feel it in your whole body.
Dude, yeah, you get it. That's awesome. Yeah, and you're right about the blood flow issue. It's all about that. It's all about cell signaling. It's about nitric oxide signaling and cytochrome C oxidase signaling, and these are part of the electron transport chain. And when you activate the way that your body goes through these processes, it's the critical aspect for how cells breathe. And if the cells can produce the nitric oxide gas, they're able to breathe, which is super interesting because you've drank no water while we're on the show. I drank a little bit.
I was about to do it right now. I was like, I haven't done it the entire broadcast. I remain strong. I am human.
That's great. Exactly. No, it's great. And so the case in point here is that we neither of us have eaten. We drank a tiny bit. But what did we do the whole time? What was essential that if we did not do it, we would have died? Breathing. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, exactly. So that's how essential it is for our cells. What do you think red light does? It actually causes the cells to undergo cellular respiration. And so that's just critical for everything. Once you get that, you get everything. It's the same thing. The same thing that like corrects the erectile dysfunction issue is the same thing that corrects eyesight. And the studies done on children was 6,400 children over 41 clinical trials. The red light was the number 1 thing to stop vision worsening in children. But it's the same thing. It's because it's nitric oxide signaling, cytochrome C oxidase signaling in the eye. So okay, and then come back over to that long COVID study I showed you. What was happening? Oxygen above 97% in the blood, cognitive function repaired, memory function repaired, digestive issue resolved. They're oxygen related. And I'll show you and I'll show you this one because there's something really touching on this with this child this was published in the British Medical Journal, and this child had a stroke when she was born. And I always get emotional with this one. I won't show the video, just maybe copyright or something. But this one, she's so precious. There's the mother. She had really poor social abilities. And when she talks, there's the mother talking about the story. Here she is 9 years later. Now she's finally getting treatment under red light therapy. She's a stroke patient. She had a stroke when she was born. She can't socialize properly. She's bullied. She says, I was bullied. She kind of almost tears up. But then she gets a little more teary when she says, people like me for who I am. And I have friends. And bro, yeah, look at it.
It's even worse if you have kids.
Oh, yeah, I know, man. Like, it kills you. She's so precious. And she, it just makes me emotional every time. Like, if somebody didn't know about this, then where would she be? And her academic scores are right on now. But they were very poor before, and they document all of that and they published it. And then, like, you see me put the slide there. There it is, published in the British Medical Journal. This is not just anecdotal. They keep finding these results over and over again, man. And it's just, what does that mean for your parents or your friends, your family? And coming back to the practicality of that. Yeah, sure. Like, what if it was something that was out of reach that no one could afford? Well, and I talk about like red light being the manifestation of the med bed because it like ticks the boxes. It's kind of like crazy like that, right? Like, you guys are just seeing this information. I don't think tell me if you've ever seen something more impressive. I'm not saying don't be impressed by me. I'm talking about be impressed with God and what he's made. But tell me if you've seen something more impressive. I want to know what it is. There's a couple of things that just like sit up really high like that, but there's not many to me. But like something that is so accessible where you've got one thing, and instead of like, you buy one supplement, you got to keep reordering every month. And now if I got a family of 4, which I do, I've got to get one for each of us. Whereas now I just got one red light device for our whole family. There's like a beautiful family gathering around that. Like, my sons and I will do it together at the same time. And we would do it while we're watching a show together. Like, it's so easy. You just got to put it somewhere where it matters. Your parents, your friends come to visit, you put it on them. And you, like, if your friends come to visit you for a week and they had some of the conditions that we talked about, like the long one that we were talking about, this one here. And then within a week, within the time that they visit you, you could send them home better if they did long sessions. And so, like, if we all thought more like missionaries and evangelists, we could make the world better. And that's what I am encouraging people to do, to transform the world around them and actually take healing into our hands. Because if we don't, what does our future look like?
Yeah. And it's really just for me, and I think for a lot of people as well, it's like, maybe it's hard to get into the habit of a healthy lifestyle, especially if you haven't already been engaging in good habits and good lifestyle habits and health habits, then maybe it's really hard. But once you do it and it becomes habitual and it becomes just a way of life, there's really no going back. There's no going back. And I always tell this to younger kids too, and it's just true. The sooner you do this, the better. For people, like, I've got friends, I'm 36, they're in their 30s. I've got friends that are really struggling with weight issues. And it's just like, man, it's so much harder. It's so much harder to address these things the older you are. You're at such an advantage. The younger you are to establish that base, it's easier to lose weight when you're younger. It's easier to run when you're younger. It's easier to stretch when you're younger. It's easier to It's even easier to digest when you're younger. And so you really want to just, it's like, don't wait until you're old. Start forming these good habits now. And then it's like, okay, any kind of cheat code, anything that makes it easier, anything that just advances it, just gives you just that bonus factor, you want to try to do it. And that's, for me, it's been red light therapy. And that's why I was so happy to make the connection with you. Jonathan Otto has been our guest here tonight. And if you do want to learn more, I know a lot of this, I'm assuming a lot of this, I don't know if everything that you shared tonight is available on your website.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And like I go through,
is available here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's like a 3-hour, okay, go to myredlight.com. Go to myredlight.com. And guys, if you are interested in this, it's simple. It's myredlight.com. And if you type that in, if you don't mind, Owen, and then the code, guys, because, and I'll tell you a couple of differentiation points so you understand it, because you want to get something that works. Yeah, like when you got that ready, the code would be Owen. Is that good with you? Owen 25. That'll activate a 25% off discount. I've actually got it live. So just you tell me if you need me to change it. But Owen 25 for 25% off. That's on single items, or which actually they come with some free gifts and stuff. But the other ones, the bundled items, like where it's a pack of a couple of different things, then that's Owen 30. So it's a 30% off discount, 25 and 30% off discount. So huge savings on that. But these
is that the best website then? Is it my Red Light is the best website for all?
Correct, because it's got
Red Life Lights is another one, but you prefer myredlight.com?
Yes, because this one actually you will get more free additional gifts, right? So the price is you activate the lowest price here on this site, and you'll get additional free gifts, because like there's some additional free supplements and information products. That I was producing on the Truth About Cancer. We produced a lot of amazing documentaries. We give that as free gifts, so you've got some resources and tools, and like they go all the way down to like a device for a couple $100, like whether it's for your knee or the belts, and you can scroll down and so you can see what they look like. So whether you want to get like a whole big system in your home, or whether you want a single device, you can keep scrolling down there so people can see what that looks like.
For clarity, the stand, this is so that you can just have it upright, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Upright or horizontal. So you could push it horizontal, and we got PEMF mats there as well, pulse electromagnetic field mats that have both red light, blue, green, and far infrared heat therapy.
Like laying on, stretching on, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then PEMF is like the number one thing for sarcopenia, muscle loss. It's the number one thing for insomnia. The best thing for various conditions. Yeah, absolutely. Like the clinical study on some insomnia, the 4-week study, I think it was 4 weeks, but 69.7% went into remission of insomnia during the study. And like by the way, guys, so like whether you've got like a lot or a little to spend, by the way, there's payment plans there as well, right? Where you could that $100 you would have spent on one session for the month, you could spend it on a monthly payment. And then after the 6 or 12 months, you end up owning the device for life. And you could have used it 30 times in the month rather than one session for a clinic. So it's the way to do it for sure. And those belts, for example, I saw a case study. This one was a couple months ago. Dee, she had that belt. The one she had the one on the right, but the one on the middle it has 5 different wavelengths. It's more portable, but so either one are great, and they both work really well. But she ended up going from a 9 out of 10 pain score with back pain sciatica to a 0. She quit her part-time job as a massage therapist.
Sciatica sucks,
bro. And exactly. Her body just responded to it so well. She went to a 0. She went and got her career back again. Like nothing happened to her. She like, so, and then people are using the same thing, right? That belt, you could use it there on your, and it's big. Like it will strap around your whole belly. Like it'll wrap around the whole thing. And it's about that wide, right? And I thought I had it here, just looking around. But then you put that on your back, your shoulders. You could put it on your head. You could look into it if you understand the stuff on the eyesight. We've seen people do that a lot. You can put that over your testicles. So I travel with that. I had it on the plane on the way home, and then I had it on my flight. My drive back. I live in Puerto Rico. So I was just at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. And anyway, so like you could use these portable items, or you could get a full body device. And like I tell people to do the math, like you take a supplement like this and you say, okay, let's say I'm spending $50 on this for the month. For the year, that's going to be $600. And now if I have a family of 4, so that's going to be $2,400 now for that one thing that can't do much for me, right? And now over the next 10 years, it's $24,000. So I thought that maybe like this is, I'm just going to spend that. But that becomes the cheapest thing to do. And then you can build from that. Like then you could say, okay, well, I'm going to add in curcumin because it activates this. And then you've set yourself up. You've like made, like, by the way, these are designed to last a lifetime. It's a 50,000 rated lifespan hours. So it just gives you, like, that's about 80 years for a whole family using it. So anyway, you get my point. It's about finding something that's going to work for you that creates your home into a healing oasis, and then you then correct the health for you and your children and for countless different things, your family. And yeah, this is where healing starts. Like I'm traveling back to Australia to visit my family in a couple of days. I'm bringing all this random stuff, get Christmas gifts, all kinds of things, because this is, it's like really special. You get more years, more time, better quality of years with your parents. And so I just really want to encourage people, like our parents don't know this stuff. They need to learn about it through people like us. And so you remember as well, it's Owen 25 and Owen 30. So yeah.
myredlight.com, Owen 25, Owen 30 for the packages. And just so people understand, you guys reached out, and Red Life is going to be a sponsor of the Owen Report. And when we were getting all the business side of things done, I just said, look, we got to come on and actually talk about this stuff, because it's not just, it's more than just a product that we want to have and sponsor the show with. I'm like, no, this is a serious health conversation. There's actual real stuff to talk about with this stuff. And then, then people can understand what it is that we're actually talking about here, what we're actually, trying to introduce them to. So, and when we were talking, it was like, hey, we're here to talk about why we believe and why we practice red light therapy. So I'm saving, I was like, hey, we'll save the sponsorship stuff. We'll save the plugs and everything for the show. People need to know about this technology, whether or not you guys want to sponsor the show or not, but you guys will be sponsoring the show. Red Life will eventually be, we'll be introducing that to the Owen Report. But yeah, the stuff that you showed, the scientific results, the research, everything, that is provable enough. But I'm telling you, just from the experience that I've had in the last couple of years using it, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is improvement, beyond a shadow. No doubt. I even become addicted to it.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's so good. And then this one's important for people. Okay, so I showed that slide with the 9 different wavelengths, right? So now they're not the only 9 wavelengths, but they're the nine most studied and most proven wavelengths. And most devices have 2, right? And so we put all 9, and that's the reason why you can see the different colors. You'll see like it's blowing out the camera a bit, but you'll see all these different colors because they're different wavelengths. And the reason why they're all lit up, normally you'll see half of them lit up, half not. The reason why that's the case is because near infrared, you can't see it. It's dual. So you got 2 different light source, two different lights coming out of one light. So it's like, there's 288 lights here, but it's actually 576. So anyway, just a couple of things to note. But the number one thing of all things to look for is irradiance, the amount of power delivered. And it's over 200 milliwatts, just like the one of the studies I mentioned. That's about twice what you'll find in even some of the clinics that have $100,000, $150,000 units, like the Novathor. It's about twice the irradiance. So it's more advanced, newer technology. It's at 42 mil chips and 30-degree lenses. There's reasons for that. So I just want people to know that, because otherwise you don't know. And then if you look at EMF meters, if you get a meter like this and you put it against it, like right now, this is going off because it's got Wi-Fi. This is coming from the computer. But once I put it against the device, you'll see it drop off. And then see how it hit to a 0. And if there's no signal in the room, you'd see it at a 0 the whole time. But so there you go. No EMF. So then that way you know that you're safe on it. So yeah.
And by the way, too, and this will kind of be just the closing bell, folks. You can maybe these things are starting to pop up where it's like a tanning salon or something, or sometimes now you have like the cryogenic chambers where you can go and maybe they'll charge you like $90 for like 30 minutes or something like that. So that's kind of one resource that people are finding. But if I remember correctly, when I was kind of looking into that, they're charging like $100 like for half an hour session to stand in front of these red light panels is what I've been seeing as this stuff started to pop up.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's hard. And then like, if you want to do it for sleep, you want to do it before you go to bed. If you want to do it for eyesight, you want to do it first thing when you wake up, if you can, right? They're not times when the clinic's open. And then if you want to double up your treatment, you're cuffed, and then it's out of reach, right? It's like, man, this, like, you just do this whenever, and it becomes like a super fun thing.
Folks, I'm telling you, and I don't want to go off onto another tangent here, but I'm telling you, I've dealt with insomnia. I've dealt with sciatica. I've dealt with some dry skin issues, nothing serious, but I'm telling you, like, every single thing, just standing in front of this stuff improves it. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. We presented the science here. Jonathan, this has been a great time. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, same,
I'm sure we'll meet each other someday.
Again,
this has been great. I hope it's been very informative.
Dude, you're awesome,
tuning in, and we just want to improve people's lives. That's what it's all about.
Awesome, bro. And just as I say goodbye, I'm a similar age to you. I'm 40 in a month, and Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr, Ross River fever, chronic boils, chronic nausea. Like, my life got really hard, and I know what it takes to suffer, and you do, because you battled it, and that's why you know your stuff, man. I just respect you for that, and let's make the world better. And it's just one life at a time, man. And God bless you guys. Like, keep your loved ones close to you. Do everything you can for yourself and for others, and live the best life you can. Thank you for having me.
Amen to that. God bless.